Well, I'm a techie kind of guy. It took me 2 weeks to set up a station that should have taken 3 months to set up.
So a station like that can get set up in 2 weeks?
If you know what you're doing, yeah.
And what would that entail for people out there who are not technical people? What can you give them so that they have a very good idea of what you went through during those 2 weeks?
Well, you see, the trick is to find the right software to run the station. Then finding a good streaming host, because you can't just do it off your home computer. You can't just stream off your home computer. I mean, you can. There are free hosts out there that will stream off your home computer, but the quality is garbage. So basically, if you're paying for, you have to pay for the service. So then you have to decide how many concurrent listeners you want to be able to hear your station. So once you decide that, I think I'm at 50 concurrent listeners. Then there's an intricate cost to having 50 concurrent listeners. There's a cost for the bandwidth. You're buying the space. So once you bought the space and once you got the software, then it's finding content. Now, I went out and I found a bunch of people who produce shows for True Talk Radio, and there are a couple of shows that I air on the station that are free open source shows. Basically, they're part of this union on the net that allows you to use their stuff as long as you credit their website. So you put a link on your website for their website, and they allow you to use their shows. I play a lot of old-time radio because anything after 50 years doesn't hold copyright anymore. So old-time radio is not a problem to stream. The problem with streaming music, I do it, but the problem with streaming music is that sometimes the unions will come after you to pay royalties. So I try to stay as far away from music as I can, but I mean there are certain hours of the day that I don't want to repeat the same show 6 times a day, so I'll fill it with music. But
is that the only reason you stay away from music and you focus primarily on talk radio?
Well, I happen to like talk radio. But even if I didn't like talk radio, I would stay away from music because the cost of airing music is just prohibitive. These artists complain that nobody ever buys their music, but then they don't allow you to expose them on a radio station. The copyright laws, really, radio stations should be exempt from these kind of royalty fees. The royalty fees should be charged to people purchasing CDs. The royalty fees should be charged to people performing these covers of these songs, like these cover bands that are out there, or bands at a local bar that's performing these songs should pay the royalty fees. But if you're on a radio station, you're basically giving these record companies free publicity. You're letting people hear this music before they go out and buy this music. And radio stations should really be exempt from these copyright laws, but unfortunately they're not. So the cost is so prohibitive that it just doesn't pay. Especially for a no-profit station, in fact, a no-income station, to go and start paying royalty fees for music that you're airing would be just ridiculous.
Since we're on the topic of costs and income, without getting too specific, because we don't want to pry into your personal finances, can you give us an idea of how taxing owning an internet radio station can be on an individual, especially if there's no income coming in?
Well, depending on how many concurrent listeners you want, your streaming costs, just your streaming costs, could be anywhere from $50 US to $300 US, depending on how many people you want to be able to listen at the same time.
Now, is that a one-time fee, an annual fee?
It's an annual fee. Depending on what service you go to, other services are more expensive, but you get higher quality sound.
So for a basic,
for a basic service, you pay anywhere between $50 and $150 US dollars. The software itself is probably around $400 or $500.
All US?
All US. You have to dedicate a computer to the station. So the average computer is going to cost you $500-$600 to purchase a computer for the station.
Can you use an average computer for this?
Yes. You just need a good sound card. So a good sound card in the average computer will cost you another $200. If you want to do live programming, you need microphones, you need a mixing board, you need a mini disc player or a CD player or something. You add in the cost of that. I mean, the whole thing could cost you $7,000-$8,000 easily without even blinking to set the thing up. I was lucky. I had a lot of this equipment because I've been in the business a long time. I've collected a lot of equipment over the years, so I didn't have to lay out the major cost up front because I had equipment lying around that I wasn't using. But the average Joe who doesn't have this kind of equipment lying around, this could add up to $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 easily. Just a good mixing board. A good mixing board could cost you $1,500-$1,600.
I'd like to talk now about the sacrifices you have to make. What are some of the sacrifices that you yourself have had to make in not only your profession of radio and seeking work and employment there, but also the sacrifices you've had to make to put up TrueTalkRadio.com?
Well, the sacrifices for True Talk is just basically a monetary investment. With me, it wasn't huge money. I had an extra computer lying around I wasn't using, so I didn't have to go out and buy a computer. I had all the equipment. I had the soundboard and the microphones. I mean, I had no problem with that. The software cost me a couple of $100, and the streaming cost me a few $100. So my setup cost was really low compared to what it could have been. Oh, I forgot the internet connection too. You also have to have a high-speed internet connection to do this. You can't do it over dial-up. So there's a cost to that, a monthly cost to that too. On the other side, the professional side, sacrifices when you start working for a radio station is hours. Days run into each other. You don't even know how many hours you're working half the time. You're scheduled to work, sometimes you're scheduled to work 12, 15-hour shifts. You have no idea. You sacrifice a home life. You sacrifice a social life in some cases. The most sacrifice that you're going to make is major market stations don't tend to hire people off the street. I was lucky, but in general, major market stations don't hire people off the street. So basically, you'd have to move out to some hick town somewhere, get a job in a hick town, before you could get a job in a major market station. They want you to train somewhere else before they'll hire you. So you're sacrificing going away from home and going to some strange town to build your career. And so, it's easy to do it when you're 20-odd years old, but it's much harder to do it when you're 30-odd years old.
Let's talk about the day-to-day lifestyle of someone who works in radio. And given that you have experience not only as a radio manager, station manager, give me some ideas for the technicians, the on-air personalities, the interns. What are some key elements to their day-to-day lifestyles?
Well, it's routine, basically. Unless you're management in a station, your job is routine. A technician will come in and he'll push the same buttons every day. He'll run the same liners every day, the same spots every day. A call screener will come in and answer the calls and answer them the exact same way. Each call every day will be the exact same day. It's very mundane and very very boring. If you don't enjoy that kind of work, it's extremely boring. A host is a little more interesting because you get to talk about different topics and you get to talk to people all day. But in general, it's the same thing every day. As glamorous as it sounds, if you think about it, if you listen to the radio, it's the exact same programming every single day, and the exact same programming means that you have to do the exact same thing to have the exact same sound.
Do you think that some people get into the profession because of the image of glory and how glorious it sounds, but then get disillusioned?
Definitely. I know people who... I've been at the major market station for a long time, probably 6-7 years already, and I've seen people come in all gung-ho saying, yeah, I'm going straight to the top, and then 3 months later saying, it's not for me, and leaving. People always look for fame. Everyone wants to be recognized. And management at network stations do not recognize talent. They just don't recognize you. If you do a good job, you'll never hear from them. They'll never say, that was a great job you did. You'll never get the recognition. If you do something wrong, then you'll hear from them. But if you do something right, you never hear from them. I once complained to my manager saying, I've been here for 4 years and no one's ever told me if I do a good job or not. I've never had any feedback whatsoever on the kind of job I'm doing. And he looked at me and he said, Howie, if you don't hear anything, you're doing a good job. And really, a lot of people need affirmation. I personally don't. I really don't care for the affirmation. I know I do a good job and that's all I care about. But a lot of people need the affirmation, and when they don't get it, they get very discouraged and they leave.